Taiyilake. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name properly. Taiyilake. Taiyilake Nueraji versus Kiefer Crosbie. So Taiyilake. Man, you know what? Kiefer Crosby is honestly terrible. I'm not gonna lie to you, but this guy um is coming off of road to, or am I wrong? Isn't he coming from road to UFC or something like that? And even though Kiefer Crosby is terrible, I mean he's been in the UFC for a couple of fights now. And now, considering how prospects have been treated in the UFC this year, there are so many prospects that have lost this year. Like, you would have made a lot more money betting against prospects than, and of which, as always, I don't encourage anyone to bet. I'm just saying it's an example. You would have succeeded more if you picked against prospects. So even though Kiefer Crosby is not the best fighter, um, I mean, okay, he lost via submission to Kevin Jousset, which is not bad. I mean, Kevin Jousset from the City kickboxing team, I think is okay. He's not like the canniest of cans. And is it Sam Patterson? I mean, also in the first round, this doesn't look good, but I mean, it's not. He's not losing to the canniest of cans, to be honest. But still, he's terrible. So it's kind of hard because the other guy is basically untested in the UFC. So it's kind of hard to even when you look at his fighting style. Normally, I think the mistake that a lot of people make is they look at tape of how someone was fighting outside the UFC, right? Which normally doesn't really mean much. It's some information, it's better than no information, but normally that doesn't give you any kind of indication as far as how good they are. Because, as I always say, it's easy to look amazing when you're fighting against the less talented people. So you can look like a world champion when you are fighting me, for example, when I don't have that much training or whatever the case is. Okay, maybe I would whoop some of their asses, but still, the main example here is that when you are fighting lesser competition, it's easy to look like a world class athlete, right? Until you get into the UFC, people like Patchy Mix, Aaron Pico, Patricio Pitbull, all these people are a perfect example of that. Having success outside the UFC, and once they come into the UFC, they ish the bed. So as far as striking goes, obviously, this guy Nuerji, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Nueraji, I'll just call him that. Nueraji is very active. He throws a heavy amount of volume. It's kind of interesting to see him being this massive of a favorite. And I get that Kiefer Crosby has been submitted like for uh, his entire career in the UFC has been submissions in the first round. I get it. I'm not gonna sit here and defend him, but it's kind of crazy to see that this Nureji guy is such a massive favorite even on his debut. Maybe people are seeing something I'm not seeing, but the activity is insane. I'm not gonna lie to you. He's going to be throwing twice as much as Kiefer Crosby. Defensively, both of them are pretty terrible. It's easy to hit them, so I'm not going to be too confident in their defense. Um, oof, I don't know, man. Oh man, you know what? My subscribers and I are obviously going to go with what's his name, Taiyilake Nueraji. I hope I'm pronouncing his name properly, man. I've been butchering his name all this time. I am not gonna lie to you. I don't have a lot of confidence in him. He's a prospect, and even though Kiefer Crosby is a can, being a can in the UFC probably means you can do very well outside the UFC. Like, you probably might be able to become a title contender somewhere in LFA or I don't know, maybe Bellator. At this point, it feels like the UFC. I mean, was it Cedric Doumbé or something like that? I can't remember the guy who Joaquin Buckley knocked out, who became viral because of the knockout. That guy went on to win a tournament in PFL. And granted, maybe he improved knockout, he became better, which can happen. But I mean, if that kind of a guy can go from the UFC, he never even touched the rankings. So if that kind of a guy can go from the UFC to win the PFL tournament, and so it kind of worries me because this guy obviously doesn't have UFC experience. And once again, even though Kiefer Crosbie has been losing his entire UFC career in the first round, he had some level of experience against decent level competition inside the UFC, and I think that might give him some type of an advantage as far as experience goes. But yeah, I mean, I think this guy is pretty active on the feet. Maybe we might see a knockout, but once again, proceed with caution because prospects have been destroyed. It just feels like as long as you have some level of experience, I don't know if the competition in the UFC has gotten so harder that whenever you're coming outside into the UFC, it's a little bit more challenging for you to have success, or everyone else outside the UFC is becoming trash. I don't know. But obviously, as overall, the level of competition or the amount of prospects the UFC has, I blame the UFC partly for the lack of talent. Because number one, the pay structure, which honestly I feel like should be earned. I don't agree with the fact that okay, maybe base pay. I don't know about like a lot of people are saying, well, how about 50K? I think that's too much. I wouldn't be even 25, man. Like even 25 is kind of crazy for me, but it is what it is. Let me not go too deep into that. But my point is, I feel like the level of competition that is lacking inside the UFC is because of them. But that back to the point that I was trying to make. The point I was trying to make is a lot of prospects have been losing this year. Like so many prospects have been losing this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if Kiefer Crosby somehow found a way to fluke his way to a victory. Right, this guy is untested in the UFC, and if I'm not mistaken, he came from Road to UFC. Historically, there are some who have managed to succeed a little bit, but historically, Road to UFC guys are not that great. You can name one or two who have actually had success, but for the most part, they are not that great, to be honest. But yeah, my subscribers are going with this guy, the Nueraji guy. I'm not very confident. I guess we'll see how he performs. Let me go to the next fight. I love and appreciate all of you. Deuces.